Hi, this is Alimayo Arango of ArangoDigitalProduction.com, and today I want to show you how to put a rig inside of a T-Rex. So let's get started. Okay, if this is your first time in Blender, I recommend you go to File, User Preferences, and then Input, and then go to Select with Left. Blender's default select is with right, and this might confuse you if you're coming from Adobe programs or other 3D programs. Okay, this model that I'm using is from a tutorial I did a little while ago. I'll put a link up to the screen for where you can find it at. When I say put a rig inside of this thing, basically what I'm talking about is that you have a 3D mesh right here, and to move this thing into animated easily, you put something in it called an armature. And when you put an armature inside of a mesh to make it move, it's called rigging. So that's what we're about to do here. Blender has a rigging system built into it called Rigify. Rigify is it's very good. It's very useful. You can use Rigify to either normally generate a full rig, or you can use just a skeleton out of it. One of the limitations of Rigify is that Rigify is made for standard humanoid shapes, so Rigify would be kind of hard to use as far as putting an armature inside of a non-humanoid shape such as this T-Rex. So what I'm hoping you get from this tutorial is that you'll find that you'll be able to put an armature into pretty much whatever mesh that you should choose to want to put it into to be able to animate it. Okay, the first thing you're going to want to do is hit 1 on your number keypad to go into front view. You want to make sure that you have your 3D cursor directly in the center of this model. If you right click in Blender, your 3D cursor will move to wherever you right click. The 3D cursor is also where any object that you bring in will go to. So if your 3D cursor isn't directly centered, you can hit Shift C and it will put your 3D cursor directly center, which is exactly where you want it to be. If you're doing this tutorial and you got your T-Rex model from the model that I showed you how to make in the T-Rex tutorial, if you still have a mirror modifier applied on it, one of the things you can do is, I'm just holding my middle mouse button, by the way, to rotate. One of the things you can do is click on this wrench, which is your modifier button. In here, temporarily just hit this eye to see the inside. And what I did, I just turned off the mirror modifier. So the mirror modifier takes this side, basically makes it look like it's applied to the other side. And we're about to actually apply it. So the mirror modifier isn't on there anymore. But what we want to do is just lift up this tongue. Again, this is if you're using the model that I showed you how to make in the previous T-Rex tutorial I had made. So anyway, we're in object mode right now. I'm going to hit tab to go into here. All you're going to do is select faces, hold shift, and just select this tongue. And basically all we're doing is just lifting this up. So I'm just hitting R to rotate. Just so the tongue is easier, a little bit easier to put a bone inside of it. Then once that's done, you can hit this eye. This eye just means, again, to hide the mirror modifier. I'm going to hit that. Mirror modifier comes back. When I move the tongue up, I cause it to split. This clipping right here will keep that tongue from splitting normally with mirror modifier on. So if by some chance you got your tongue to split like I did, just take this manipulator, push it back together, hit A to deselect, and you'll see that if I click on the tongue again and I try to pull, now it sticks together. But what we want to do now is hit tab, come out of go back into object mode. You can also just click here to go in object mode. Then you're going to go right here and apply that mirror modifier. Okay, now you can hit 3 on your number keyboard to turn it to the side. Sometimes in Blender, your 3D cursor or your manipulator will be off of the origin, and you see, like, as I try to move this around, it's all the way over here. the manipulator, so it's annoying. So if you want to fix this, what you can do is go to Object, Transform, and then you would just go to Origin to Geometry, and now you can see that now my manipulator is right with the geometry. If you didn't have to worry about that, don't worry about it. But that's how you fix it if that happens to you. Anyway, what you're going to do now is hit 1 on your number keypad, and again with the 3D cursor still directly in the center. Now what you're going to, and still on object mode, you're going to hit Shift A, go down to armature. Right here is the rigify meta rig for a humanoid. This is basically how you would get to that, which we're not using here. Here for you just want to click single bone. All right, so the armature just came right in with this 3D cursor. The reason why you can't see it is the armature is inside of this T-Rex. I'm going to turn to the side. I'm just holding my middle mouse button. You can see it popping out through the back there. And if you go right here and you, again, you have the bone selected in object mode and you hit X-ray. Now you can see the bone inside of the T-Rex. Now this bone is either going to be big or small depending on how big your model is. If you're ever curious about like the size of your model compared to everything else, just look at this light, right? I mean, the default camera right here, and you can tell. Like I think when I showed you, if you followed my T-Rex tutorial, I believe I did from the cube, and the cube probably will be about this big, about as big as that eye, which is probably about as big as the camera. I shrunk down the T-Rex to get it to this size, and I'm just saying that in case somebody puts the armature in, and the armature is extremely small compared to the way I have it. The reason why it's this size now, again, is because my T-Rex, I shrunk it down. Okay, what you're going to do now is select your bone. You're going to hit Tab to go into edit mode, or you can just click here and go into edit mode. Now you're just going to select the center of your bone. I'm going to hit 3 on my number keypad. If you want to go into orthographic mode, you can hit 5 on the number keypad, and it will take you in here. I'm going to hit Shift and my middle mouse button is just going to pan up, roll on the middle mouse button to zoom in. Now I'm just going to, again, I selected right here to select this whole bone. I'm just going to push straight down. And basically what I'm doing here is I'm positioning this, setting up this bone, because this bone is basically going to eventually come out to the hips here. I'm now going to select right here and just pull back a little bit. And what we're going to do is just continue up towards, get the spine in, and we'll come back and do the legs. Okay, so now what we're going to do is select this head bone right here. And I keep in 3D, whenever you're modeling in 3D or you're putting armatures in, just remember you're typically going to have to, like right now I'm holding the middle mouse button and zooming around. You're going to have to look from front to side or top. You're going to constantly have to look around. Otherwise, you won't be able to have a good position as far as 3D, as far as seeing in 3D and placing objects in 3D. Anyway, I'm going to hit 3 on my number keypad again, and I'm going to hit E to extrude on the Y-axis. I'm going to take a bone out just like this. I'm going to left click. Now I'm going to take my manipulator, pull up a little bit, and let me pull back a little bit there. So now I'm going to hit E to extrude on the Y-axis. And basically what we're doing with this bone here is this bone is going to come up that head part. That's going to go out to the shoulders and eventually to the arm. So I'm basically putting it out here, pushing it up, and just getting it in position. And orthographic mode, you can see right here it says right ortho. This is position here so the bones can come out for the hips. This is position here for the bones come out for the arm. So with this still selected, we're going to hit E to extrude on the Y-axis again. Come out here, left click. Then we're just going to raise this up towards the head. And now what we're going to do is, this is going to be a little bit different. I mean, this is a fairly simple rig we're going to make. We're not going to worry about doing eye rigging or anything like that. We're just going to, set the rig up for the basic, so the mouth can open and shut. This thing can, walk around and switch its tail around. So what we're going to do now is you're going to hit E to extrude on the Y-axis. And you're going to come out to about here. Take it up. And then you're going to hit E to extrude on the Y-axis again. right there. So now you're going to select here. For the bottom, actually, yeah, for the bottom jaw, you're going to hit E to extrude on the Z axis. Left click, and then you're just going to push up here. Push down to manipulator, and here again, then you're going to hit E to extrude on the Z axis again. Left click, and then I'm just going to move this up. So it's just like there, right there. Okay, now we're going to select here again. Hit E to extrude on the Y axis. Zoom in here. I'm just rolling my middle mouse, holding shift so I can pan. And this is going to be a bone so we can move the tongue around. So we're going to hit E to extrude on the Y axis yet again. Just taking the manipulator, just putting it in place. Yep, looks fairly good. I'm trying to see that. Looks a little bit off for the tongue, so I'm just pushing the manipulator down here. You see how I'm trying to position for the tongue? I can, and it's off. I don't want to have this bone in the wrong position for the jaw. So one thing I can do is I can select this bone right here. Now I can hit W, brings up my specials menu, then I can hit subdivide. And now what that'll do is give me a little bit more leeway for playing with the tongue. And because I'm on the manipulators, even though I am not in orthographic mode, I can still pretty comfortably move around. You know what, we're actually going to, we'll select here, we'll hit W, subdivide, and that'll give us some more leeway here for that. Same thing here, select this bone, hit W, subdivide, there we go. I'm just clicking to maneuver this, in what looks like a fairly decent position. Okay. Okay, now we'll work our way down to tail. So now you can see right here what mode we're in user ortho. We want to be in side view. So we're going to hit 3 on the number keypad. And if you see it like that, just hit 5 and it'll take you into orthographic mode. You're going to select right here, and then you're going to hit E to extrude on the Y axis and just pull back. Push down here. E to extrude on the Y axis again. And you're better off, using the planes, X, Y, and Z to keep your bones, to bring your bones in that way. Anyway, you're going to hit E to extrude on the Y axis again. You're just generally, following the tail. E to extrude on the Y axis again. Then E to extrude on the Y axis yet again. And generally when you're doing organic models like, people or dinosaurs or whatever, that's what you would do. You sit there, you have your main bone, you come up to where you have like the hip joint here, and you have the the elbow joint here. We have the neck here. You know what? Our T-Rex won't be able to turn. It will be able, yeah. You know what? Let's grab right here and hit W and then subdivide. Just so we have another bone in the neck to give us a little bit more flexibility. Okay, now just turning to the side so I can see the hip. So you're going to select right here. All right, when you're making bones, again, whether it's humanoid or animal, whatever, there's 2 ways you can go about it, or more than 2, but one of the general ways you will go about it is you can either build out one side and ignore the other side, and basically what you would do is you would duplicate it and mirror it to the other side. For this, I'm going to show you another option, and what that is go over to your tools panel. If you don't see this, hit T and it'll pop up. look for armature options and select this right here where it says X mirror modifier. Make sure you have a check mark there. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to hit Shift E, and what this is going to allow us to do is to bring out a bone, two bones at the same time, and basically these bones are just going to mirror the bones here. So let's do that now. So we're going to hit Shift E, and then as we pull to this side, you can see bones come out on the other side there. And we just want to, move these up and take your manipulator, put it to the general area of where your hips would be at. Take your middle mouse button, zoom around a little bit so you can make sure you've got proper placement. All right, now I'm going to hit 3 on the number keypad. Holding shift and the middle mouse button just to pan into position. Whoops. Okay, and then you're just going to hit E to extrude on the Z-axis. And it'll make your bone come straight down, and you're just going to take your manipulator, push it into place. And you'll see that on the other side, because we put this X mirror on there, after we did the Shift E, whatever we do here is going to be mirrored on that side. So we can, go ahead and build this armature very similar to a mirror modifier. Anyway, hit 3 if you went to look like I did. Hit 3 on your number keypad to go back into orthographic right. All right, now, and you want this to come down to your knee joint. Now you're going to hit E to extrude on the Z-axis. Take your manipulator, pull right back. E to extrude on the Z-axis. And just push into place. And now I'm just going to hold my middle mouse button and turn. And what you want to do here is hit E to extrude on the Y-axis. Then you're just going to pull here. And this is whenever you're doing claws or something like that, or fingers, it can be a little bit of work to get into place. So you're going to hit E to extrude on the Y-axis again. And this is where you really have to just look around, because you see how there it looks like it's in place right there, right? It looks like it's in place. Look at that. You turn, it's not in place. So you just have to constantly turn and look. All right, so now you're going to select this again. You're going to hit E to extrude on the Y-axis. Left click to lock it in. Then you're just going to push it into place. And you can actually see I didn't place this because I didn't zoom around enough. This is out. You want this right in the center, so you're just going to grab this, make sure that's right in the center there. Click this right here again. That hit E to extrude on the Y-axis. And you just got to constantly, zoom around to make sure you can, position your things correctly. I'm going to hit Control Space to temporarily take away my manipulator just so I can grab that. And I'm going to hit Control Space, bring it back. I'm just holding my middle mouse button and holding Shift to pan while holding the middle mouse button. So now here I'm going to hit E to extrude on the Y-axis. And just pushing this into place just like before. And that is it. Look at that. Okay, anyway, and if you've been through some of my tutorials before, the way I generally like to do things is, basically get the basic setup done and then come back and, you can always adjust it later. So hit E to extrude and then the Y-axis. Just put this into place. You're just taking your manipulator, getting this into place, and you can see here I want this to be back further, so I'm just going to actually pull my manipulator, and it's a pretty nice view from the bottom there. I'm just adjusting these, trying to make sure I get them as much into place. And you're kind of like, as you're doing this, you almost want to think of like meat. Like basically we're going to use automatic weights to attach these bones to the mesh, and you want to have them be kind of like in the center of the, for lack of a better word, the meat of the mesh. Okay, so we have the legs and hips in there. Okay, so now we're going to put the arms in. So I'm just zooming in to get a better look. So we're going to grab right here, very similar to before, because we have this X-axis mirror arm. What we're going to do is hit Shift E again, which will allow us to pull two bones out at the same time. We just want to look around and make sure they're positioned correctly. So with these selected, we're just going to take our manipulator and make sure those are in the position they should be as far as the shoulder. And you're really going to have to, zoom around, look to make sure that they're in the right place. Okay, now you're going to hit E to extrude on the Z-axis. Again, just look around to make sure they're positioned like they should be. You're going to hit E to extrude on the Y-axis this time. Take your manipulator and push this down into place. So that you have to look, look around. You gotta look around whether you're modeling or putting armatures in to make sure that your placement is right. Okay, we're just gonna zoom into the hand so you can get a good look. You're gonna hit E to extrude on the Y-axis. Top view is very good when you're dealing with hands or claws or whatever. Still gotta look around. Alright, so now we're gonna hit E to extrude on the Y-axis again. Okay, so now you're gonna go back, grab this head of the bone again, hit E to extrude on the Y-axis. Take your manipulator. Oh, crap. If you grab something by accident, if you right click in Blender is kind of like a reset. It's almost like a weird kind of Control Z, but very useful. And again, that's right click if you're using, default left click. Anyway, so you're just going to hit E to extrude and then the Y-axis. If you are new to Blender, there's like a big controversial thing, like left click to right click. At least there was. I don't think it's so much now as it used to be. I mean, you have the option. Anyway, we want to make sure this is positioned deep enough, and that's a good view. You can see how that X mirror axis is allowing us to basically do half the work. That's one of the things I gotta say I love about 3D. I love to draw. But it's definitely nice being able to do half the work. It's pretty cool in 3D programs. Okay, and that's the basic rig. Now we got to set up the controls. Now we're not going to do custom shapes for the bones, but we do need to have more control for when we parent this armature to the mesh. So what we're going to do is you're going to zoom in to the foot, grab right here, you're going to hit E to extrude on the Y-axis. And basically what we're doing here, if you're wondering like what the heck is going on, basically what this is just going to adjust this slightly. Basically what this is going to be, this bone that we're pulling out now, this bone isn't going to be, it's basically these bones right here are going to deform this mesh. And these bones right here are going to make this look like it's alive. Basically, when we move the bone, it'll move the corresponding mesh. So we have like this thigh bone, it'll move the thigh. These bones right here aren't going to do anything. When we move these bones, they're not going to deform the flesh. What they are going to do is give us controls to move the skeleton. So they're control bones. They're kind of like easy to grip handles. You'll see as we go along. So we need that there. We also need to set up for inverse kinematics, and basically what that is whenever you have a bone and it's being restricted by something like this foot bone or leg bone is going to be restricted by gravity since it's down. Basically what it does is it makes everything, the entire well, the skeleton attached to it, the pieces of bones attached to it, respond to the bones that are in contact with the restricting force. Sounds funny to myself trying to explain it. Okay, so to set up these control bones, what we have to do is you're going to select the bone. You're then going to hit Alt P. This is going to clear the parent of the bone. Now, after we clear, and one thing I want to say as we go on, when I first got into rigging, it was very confusing to me, and I was unnecessarily confused. The thing that confused me was I did not understand which mode I was in. Basically, I'm going to try to make this as clear as possible. When we started off, we had the mesh, right? Whether you created it or brought it in, we had the mesh. Then we brought in this main armature. That was in object mode, right? Immediately after that, we went into edit mode, which we're in now. In edit mode, you create your armature. So it's created in edit mode. Just remember that. You make it in edit mode, all right? When you set up your parents to control for your control bones, you set that up in edit mode. When you set up inverse kinematics, you set that up in pose mode. And when you parent your mesh to your bones, you do that in object mode. And hopefully it's not confusing you. You might be like, why is he saying that? I'm trying to have you dodge some of the frustration I went to. And like I said, it wasn't necessary. I would get confused between edit mode, pose mode, and object mode. So anyway, right now we cleared the bone, right? All right. Now what we need to do is you're going to select all three of these bones right here. So you're going to select this bone right here, hold shift, and just hold shift while you select that. And it's a very important order. First you select these bones, then you select this bone last, right? Now what you're going to do is hit Control P, and then this Make Parent menu comes up. You're going to select Keep Offset. I'm trying to remember if the X mirror will come. Let's see if I hit R to rotate on the X. Okay. So I believe that's cool. I wasn't sure. See, I'm sitting there telling you guys it was confusing, and I've made plenty of rigs now, but even now, still, it's but anyway, okay. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go into pose mode. All right, now that we're in pose mode, what you want to do is select just this bone right here. Hold Shift, select this bone. You're gonna hit Shift I. That inverse kinematics that I was talking about, this is setting that up. So now you, after hitting Shift I, you have this Add IK menu pop up. You just select to active bone. All right, once this pops up, you'll see this line here showing what this bone is connected to. This bone, when we move it, is going to move this leg. If we move it now, let me zoom out so you can see. I'll just right click to get out of it. If I hit G to grab, and I move it, see how it's moving the entire skeleton? I'm going to right click to get out of that. We don't want that. We want it to move right from here. So the way that we move it right from there, this is something else that when I was starting I forgot, and I sat there and oh, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? Now, if you follow this and you don't do this next part, you'll have that. So basically with this selected, what you do is you come right here. Whoops, you come right here to your my brain. Wait a second. Oh, there we go. Ugh, still. One of these days I'll have it perfectly, or even myself. Anyway, with the inverse command, when I was clicking around, I was sitting there like, what? Sometimes the pressure, it's funny, you feel pressure making these tutorials. It's like having somebody look at you, and I guess you are. Anyway, we stop rambling. To see this menu, okay, here's your add bone constraint, right? You needed to get to this chain length to see it. If you're not clicked on the bone, this bone right here, you won't see it. So basically what we did was we selected here, then we selected here, we hit Shift I, and then we clicked Add Inverse Kinematics, right? Once you add that, this yellow bone shows you what this bone will be immediately controlling, right? The reason why when we grab it, hit G, that it moves weird like that is because the chain length isn't set up right. So select here. On this chain length, you'll see this dotted line showing the connection change. So I hit 1 and it just switched. Now it switched to here. What we did need to do is for it to not be connected just to here or here. We need to have it connected up there. So we're going to go to 3. And now you can see the chain is there, right? So now when I grab here, you see that? And that's what we want. We want this this leg to be from right there. So I'm going to right click to get it to pop back. And this, of course, isn't set up yet. Okay, so now what we're going to do is the same thing here. We're going to hit with this selected on this bone. So in pose mode, one of the things is like we have the X mirror on, right? That applies to edit mode, but not in pose mode. So even though we, so far this side has been copying everything on this side, now what we have to do is we have to redo it because we're in pose mode. So you just select this bone just like how you did over here, hold shift, select this bone, you can hit shift I to active bone. We're setting up, see that says add IK, which stands for inverse kinematics. So you select there. Now the same thing, you know that you have to do a chain of 3. So you just click up to 3, and now when we hit J, now you can see this bone does, this leg does the same thing. And I'll right click just to get it to go back to its original position. Okay, and with that whole thing with understanding the chain length and all that, one of the things that's important is basically this rig. If you guys as you follow this tutorial, you created the rig from scratch, so that lets you know you can make a rig for anything. So basically, what you do, suppose you were making a rig for I don't know, some kind of thing like an octopus or something. You have these tentacles, and you want to, if you had tentacles and you wanted it to work right, you would just take your chain length and make that go along with how many segments you had. So if you had a creature walking on tentacles and it had, instead of having 3 joints, it had like 5 of them, then you would just take the chain length and increase it up to 5. Also, when we set up before, when I had you grab these 3 bones and parent it in edit mode, you can see now we hit R to rotate on the X axis, that now we have the way to rotate this foot from this bone, which of course is very useful for when this thing is, eventually walking. And I mean, come on, who hasn't meddled with any kind of special effects and wanted to have a T-Rex chasing somebody down the street? I mean, that's some good stuff. That's some fun stuff. And of course, you're going to need the legs to be able to rotate right for that. But anyway. Okay, and one of the things that you might have noticed is when we grab this bone, with this bone selected, I'm going to hit G to grab it. See how when I move it up, it curls in like that? What we're going to do is set up some controls to allow us to have easy access to it and to be able to position this thing exactly where we want to position it. And to do that, we're going to go back into edit mode. So remember, you set up your inverse kinematics in pose mode. You create your bones in edit mode, and if I sound annoying saying it and the tone of my voice and I'm saying it, trust me, it's actually just, I don't want you to go through the unnecessary suffering that I went through and I brought on myself just because I didn't understand it. Anyway, the way we're going to set that up is these bones are going to correspond to this inverse kinematic, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go to hit 1 on a number keypad. We're going to select right click right here to put the 3D cursor right there, wherever the 3D cursor is at in Blender. Remember, is where an object comes in at. We're going to hit 3. All right, and we want this to be out here, so we hit right click here. So we hit 1 to position it right here, and then 3 to get our distance right here. So actually we'll get it a little bit closer. Well, actually we'll put it like right here. So what you're going to do now is you're going to hit Shift A to bring yet another bone in, and then with this head selected here, you're just going to push down to make it smaller. Now what you're going to do is you're going to hit 1 on your number keypad, and actually you're going to select this bone, and right here I'm just left clicking and dragging down. This is our armature here, our camera, our basic things on the scene. I'm going to hit the N key to bring up this menu here, and we want to give this bone a name, and you'll see why. Now you can name everything, and it's generally a good idea to name it. Just for the speed of this tutorial, we're just naming this. But basically, here's the armature selected, which is all the bones you see, all right? When I go into the end menu and you see where it says item, it says armature. Armature is the whole thing. This particular bone is this bone, 0.019. So what we're going to do is change this to L.19. knee underscore target. Okay, so now with this selected and with this name, what you're going to do is, remember I told you there's two ways of setting up an armature. You can set up, we did a Shift E and we split the bones. Another way was to mirror bones. We're going to mirror this to get it just perfectly on the other side. And the way we're going to do that is you are going to hit Shift C, all right? And if you get zoomed out like that, I'm going to hit period on my number keyboard just to zoom in again. But now this is directly in the center, and that's what we want. This right here is your pivot point. Blender's default pivot point is medium point, which means it pivots on whatever object you're selected. You're going to click here, and you're going to go to 3D cursor. Now the pivot point is this 3D cursor, and this is a good trick for in here, modeling, all kinds of stuff. If you need to have something exactly on the other side, this is a good kind of trick to use. So with this bone selected, I'm going to hit Shift D. I made a duplicate bone now, right? So I right click, it snaps back into place. Now what I'm going to do is hit S to scale on the X axis -1 and then left click. And what that does is it puts it exactly on the other side. Again, this is another kind of cool thing. With this bone on the other side, what we can do is hit W to bring up our specials menu, and then we name that other one, L knee underscore target 0. We can click select flip names, and now this automatically Blender knows to change this to right. So this is left, that's right. So it just flips it so that it's right knee target, which is kind of neat. Okay, and that puts that exactly on the other side. So now what we're going to do with that is, now that we've used what we did, we pivoted off of this 3D cursor. Now we're going to turn this back to medium point, which is Blender's default medium point. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back into object node. Remember, we bring in armatures here, and then we set up inverse kinematics or pole targets, which are what these things we just made are. Extremely useful, by the way. We set up pole targets and inverse kinematics in pose mode. We create the armature pieces in edit mode and set them up in pose mode. Okay, so let's go to pose mode. So now what we do is we select our inverse kinematic, the main bone, and then what we do is when you look here, you can see, okay, the whole entire thing, armature, is called armature, right? The particular bone we're targeting is this bone right here. Now here's the pole target. Now one of the things is, this is one of the reasons why I had you guys name it. When I click here, and I want to select this right here, when I click here, you see this. So don't expect for it to say, knee target. First you have to select the name of your armature. So you select here. Okay, now when you do that, you select the armature. Now you click here again. You still see all these bones. You don't see your the bone that we put in that we want. So what you do is, very simply, you just hit K. And now by hitting that, now you can see, okay, there it goes. There's the two targets. I'm just going to select left target for here. Typically what happens is this gets out of whack and it spins just like it did right there. Don't let that bother you. That's normal. It pretty much happens every time. And all you're going to do is, you can see it spin right there. Just take your pole angle target and you're just going to grab it and move it back. You can even use this as a reference kind of to get it in a general place that it should be. So now we're going to do the same thing here. You're going to select here. Again, here's the bone we selected. You're going to go to pole target, select armature. You're going to select this bone now. We're looking for here. When we click it, it's not going to pop up. And then what we do is, while having our cursor over here, we hit K. And I'm guessing it's looking for knee. The K is, Blender's automatically sees the K, so it goes towards it. So now we just select knee target. As soon as I click this, you'll see that knee go out of whack. There it goes. No big deal. We come to pole target, and now we position this and put this into place. And I'm sure there's an exact way to have it perfectly like the other one, but most of the time, eyeballing it like this has done all right for me. Matter of fact, I'm actually going to use that to get it more in the center there. Okay. So now basically what's going on here is that now when we go to take this control bone, I'm going to click on, I'm going to hit G to move this. Now when I move this up, right, if it gets kind of out of whack, like it's up high, I take this pull target, now I'm hitting G. You see that? It lets me move the bone to position it, right? So when I right click, and I'm just going to hit Control Z to get back. But the pull targets are extremely useful, and they'll save you a lot of frustration in the future. Okay, we have a few more things to set up. So remember, we set up inverse kinematics. We set up pull targets inside of pose mode. We parent things and create new bones inside of edit mode. And yes, I'm going to annoy you by keep saying it because, again, I want you to not go through the frustration I went through. I believe in my other rigging tutorial, I kept saying the same thing. And it's just because I just don't want anybody else to go through unnecessary annoyance. So anyway, we're going to go into edit mode where we make bones and parent bones, right? So what we need to do now is we have the pull target set up. We've got these control bones set up. We're about to fairly quickly, we're about to parent this to the actual mesh. But we need a bone to control this entire thing so that this thing can actually, walk around. And so what we're going to do for that is we're going to remember, here's the 3D cursor. Wherever the 3D cursor is at is where our new bone is going to come into. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to hit Shift A to bring a new bone in. We're then going to select the center of that bone. We're going to hit R, X, R for rotate on the X-axis. 90 at the top of your keypad is what you want to press. You want to push this bone straight down. And basically what this bone is to allow your other bones to be able to jump and to move around. And what we need to do is attach these other bones to this bone. So now that this bone is in here, what we're going to do, remember we set up inverse kinematics and we set up pull targets in edit mode. We set up parenting in edit mode. So what we want to do is select this bone right here. It's important the order that you select the bones in. So we're going to select this bone, hold shift, select this bone, and then what we're going to do is hold we're going to hit Control P for keep offset, and then we're going to select these bones right here, and then hold shift and select here. You know what is it, 1 with that? You know what, so I don't confuse myself now, I'm actually going to turn off this X axis mirror. So I'm going to select this bone here, select this bone, hold shift for here and hit Control P and select keep offset. And now you want to select these two pull targets, and then same thing, make sure you select this bone last, hit Control P, keep offset. And now what that should have done, so now when we go back into pose mode, now what should happen is when we select this bone and we want this to bend down, it bends down. I'm going to hit Control Z to get back. But now when we select this bone, all of the bones should move, and they do. So I'm going to hit Control Z just to get back there. And make sure everything's lined up in here. Okay, good. So now we're going to hit everything's lined up in edit mode. Now we can go ahead and finally attach the armature to the mesh. So we're going to go to object mode to do that. Actually, I'm going to hit N to get rid of this menu right here. So what we want to do is select your mesh and then hold shift and select your armature, and you'll see that the mesh, you can see like a dark orange there. So now you're going to hit Control P and then select this set parent 2 menu pops up, and then click with automatic weights. Now we go into pose mode and test it out to see how it works. So we'll just grab here and we'll hit, actually let's grab right here, test out this inverse kinematic. We'll hit G to grab, and now we can see the foot is moving, as it should. Typically, the skull, the teeth, there'll probably be some problems. You grab the arm, just click here. I'm going to hit R to rotate. That looks pretty decent. Let's see the head. I'm going to hit R. Then X. Oh, crap. The teeth lost some teeth. But that actually doesn't look bad. I'm going to hit the Z to make it look back and forth. So with the exception of those teeth, it actually doesn't look too bad. Let's see this. RX. Okay, so we just have to weight paint the teeth, and this actually is looking pretty good. I'm hitting R to rotate just to move this stuff around. Okay, to fix the teeth, we just had to do some quick weight painting. Sounds, when I first heard about weight painting, I was like, not something else, not something else, but it's not that big of a deal. Let me see how this tongue looks before I go into that. And tongue, not bad. Automatic weights does a pretty good job. Look at that. Okay, so what automatic weight, what weight painting is basically we're losing some teeth. Some of these teeth are, not moving when I hit this jaw RX. You see those teeth being left behind, so weight painting will actually fix that. So to weight paint, you just make sure you have the bone selected, and then the area that you want to click on, you hold shift, click the mesh, right? And then after doing that, you should be able to click right here, and now you'll see this option for weight painting pop up. Okay, the way weight painting works is this blue that you see, blue is an unselected area. Green is partially selected. See the teeth there? We want these teeth to be selected. Definitely the ones right here. We want it to be selected when this bone is moved. So what we do is you come up here, and we have this weight is how much connectivity is going to be attached to the bone. So we want to turn these teeth red, and we control the radius. You can control by hitting F. If I hit F and pull out, it gets bigger. If I push in, it gets smaller. And this is just what I use to control the weight and the strength. So basically, I'm going to keep this at 100, and I'm actually going to click right here on those teeth. I don't want the tongue. Let me hit Control Z. I do not want the tongue selected, so I'm actually going to go here. And because we have multiple pieces to the jaw, we really want just the teeth right there. So then what you do is you just come out, go back into, first go to, I'll just go my way. There's multiple ways of doing everything. Click back in, now I'm back in pose mode. So now what I do is when I hit RX, will those teeth move? And see those teeth are moving now. I weight painted those three. You see that there? But the other one, that one tooth there, isn't. This tooth right here is messed up. So what we have to do is hold shift. Nope, wait a second, hold shift, click right back here again, back into weight painting, and this bone is telling us we're on the right bone. All right, so I'm gonna turn so I can get a good angle for that tooth. Zoom in. We'll never be afraid of zooming in if there's like a hard to reach area, because you can make it not hard to reach by zooming in. So now there's that tooth right there. It's giving me a problem. I don't want to grab the tongue. Go to the other side. And I don't want to grab the top teeth to mess that up. So crap. I don't want to really grab there's other ways of doing this. I don't want to get too I'd rather just show you guys this way for now. Rigging is cool stuff. Some people find it super tedious. I think it's fun to be on. Oops, except for stuff like that. I think it's fun, and I think it's amazing giving things the ability to move. I guess it can be tedious. You're trying to get one thing like this. Let's see if that's enough now. So I'm gonna blue right on that top there. Get rid of that. Let's see. So we're gonna go. When you guys send me tips on how to get around, I appreciate it. A lot of times I'm in so many different designs. It's amazing. Blender in itself, as far as design programs, is like, a bunch of different programs in one. Then there's other design programs I deal with. So sometimes I forget the easiest shortcuts to get around. But anyway, back here in pose mode, now we're going to do is hit R to rotate. And now you can see that tooth is moving. And of course, on the other side, it's losing the tooth. So now we just go to the other side. And we hit click on there again, back into weight paint mode. And yep, we can see those teeth are all. So same thing, we just get these teeth here. And red means that it's strongly attached to the bone that we're selected on. It's basically what's going on there. Blue means not attached. And obviously you don't want things connected with this bone attached. And you can, even if you miss, like I'm going over there, you can always come back and unpink these things. Like, so let's try it. We can come back into, tab, we'll go, nope. Object mode, pose mode, there we go. So let's see now, R, X, there we go. There we go. Okay, now he should be pretty much ready to animate. You just want to test out every up, and I see something right here. For all of you extremely flipping out right now, okay, yes, I made a mistake. Sometimes it's good for you to see mistakes. See these bones right here? I parented these bones to the root bone. Pretty much you want all the bones parented. You don't want these parented, and the reason why is these are the pole targets. When you hit G, you want this pole target to move with the leg so you can control it. So what we can do to fix that is very quickly, we'll go to edit mode. Remember, edit mode's where we, parent, but it's also where we fix unfortunate mistakes. Anyway, you're going to select here. You're just going to hit Alt P, clear the parent. It's not that big of a deal to fix it. Select that, Alt P, clear the parent. You're now going to select this, and then you're going to hit Shift, select here. You're going to hold, hit Control. Whoops. You're going to hit Control P, keep offset, and then the same thing here. Select here, hold Shift, and select that control bone. Control P. Keep offset, and now when we go back into pose mode, so now when we grab here, the knee moves. So now see how it's moving up a little bit like that. So now we want to adjust it. We take the bones and we just hit G, and we can manipulate that leg to make it move more to where we want it to. When I hit Control Z just to get back. So yeah, just again, I apologize, people. You want to have this parented not to the root bone here, but you want to have the pole targets need to be parented to the control handles here. Okay, another thing is before you skin the mesh, attach the armature basically to the mesh. These bones right here, these are pole targets. This is the root bone. These are control bones. Also with this, these are bones that aren't supposed to deform the mesh. You can click these and then or select right here, go down, and where it says deform, you can uncheck this. So just all these bones here that aren't supposed to, again, that bones that aren't going to help this thing look like it's alive, just unclick deform. And really you should do this before. It might help now, but it would really help before. So these are all unclicked now. So now he is ready for animation. You also could, in the future, you could put a inverse kinematic on the tail so that you could just grab the tail and just move the tail from here is an option. But just to show you guys some other cool things for when you're animating this. Basically, if you want this thing to bend down, you click here and it'll bend down. You want to make it lean over, you can hit R to rotate on the x-axis and it'll lean forward. See how the head is moving? Sometimes a nice option is if you click this bone right here. This bone currently is set to inherit rotation, and basically what that means is that when I click here to rotate, that bone rotates with the body. But I'm going to right click just to get out. So sometimes if you're making an animation, it helps to click here and then uncheck inherit rotation. So now when I click here and I hit R for rotating the x-axis, you see that? How the head is looking up, like it doesn't go. And it's just some stuff that can help you when you're going to animate this thing. And of course you can click it back on when you want. Okay guys, that's it for the tutorial. You guys out there who like and reshare these videos, thank you, I appreciate it. Dimitri, I hope you had a good birthday. And people, let me know in the comment section if you would like for me to do a tutorial on animation techniques on animating this mesh in this rig. For the rest of you out there viewing, if you like this channel and you would like to see more, please subscribe, and thank you for viewing.